Hello, everyone. This is Candice Richardson Dickens, the host of the show Dope Black Therapist, and I am here with the amazing and the inspirational Miss Arlene Grant of Speaks Cleanse Your Cash. Did I say it right, Miss Grant?
Fancy hash, yes.
Okay. So, can you say it again, and can you tell them what your with the business is called, the website they can pick you up at?
So the business is actually Arlie Speaks Media LLC, and it's based out of Virginia, but I work virtually. And the best way to contact me is using Instagram, where I'm most active, and that's at Cleanse Your Cash. And it's not like the dollars, but the computer cash. So that's Cleanse Your CACHE.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, for those of you who don't know Miss Arlene, I had the pleasure of meeting her at a trauma-informed yoga workshop. And she was so active in the class. I was like, I got to know this woman. She was talking about breath work and just giving tips. And she wasn't a speaker. She was an attendee. And I was like, I've got to get this woman on this show as a community healer. And then I went to one of her classes. She has an amazing breath class that's held in the mornings at 8 a.m. And I was so amazed at the technique she was using and how calm I was. I was like, oh, it's wonderful. She definitely is a community healer. So when I created this community healer series, I was so excited that she said yes to be the guest because breath is life. And she is a healer that brings life. So I want to ask you, as a community leader, how did you start to get into breath work? Tell us your story.
So my story is not as glamorous as it probably would seem, but in 2007, my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and it had metastasized. It was outside of, not metastasized, I'm sorry, it had gone outside the margins. And so I was like, okay, I'm believing God, not pushing it on anybody. I was like, okay, God, what am I going to do? And the idea of the breath came to me. And so I got certified in laughter yoga and worked on pranayama breathing techniques. And then I went on later to get certified as a trainer of people. So since 2007, I've been occupied with the breath space and looking at from a spiritual dynamic as well. When we enter this earth, it's the power of our breath. When we leave this earth, it is the power of our breath. So that is what happened.
I
And my
love
dad at that time did recover using those techniques. So I became sold on it.
Wow. So you introduced this techniques to your dad during
Hmm.
his own process?
Hmm.
Wow. And for those who aren't familiar with breath work, what does breath work do with someone who has an illness like that or any illness? What does it do to the body?
So breath work, the way that I do it, it is multisensory, as you experienced, and it is getting the mind to get into a place of deep relaxation. When the body gets into a place of deep relaxation, it gets into a position to heal.
Mhm.
And when you get into that position to heal, wellness takes place. Your cells want to be good. Your body listens to you. That sounds weird. They tell you the body keeps score.
Yeah.
Well, it must be listening, right? If it keeps score. So that's why positive information, positive influences are so important and impactful in your recovery. When you breathe, you reset your central nervous system. You help get your body from this state of being in the sympathetic state, and you deal with the parasympathetic, and you get to a place of calm. And
Mm.
I've seen it over and over. My most extreme cases have involved people who are partially paralyzed,
Yeah.
moving limbs. There was a child who had a situation, and she was on a feeding tube because she had a chronic illness. And with her chronic illness, sorry, this phone of mine has
Oh, you're
malfunctioned.
fine.
With the chronic illness, she was on a feeding tube. She was in and out of Children's Hospital in DC, and her mother was actually a celebrity on radio and Miss Minnesota and on TLC TV. And I just felt instinctively that I could help this little girl. So I said to her mother, I think I can help her. And she agreed. And so I started doing these little sessions with her, helping her to breathe, calm her central nervous system. Her chronic illness went into remission, and she's now a thriving child playing lacrosse. No
Wow.
feeding tube, none of that. She's doing extremely well. So you make peace with yourself when you learn to breathe. We come out of the womb knowing how to breathe, but as we live, we kind of forget, and life happens to us, we lose the power to control it. You might notice it in your body posture. You begin to cower. You might find a shortness of breath and you don't know why, because there's some stress, some trauma, something that you need. It could also be nutrition related, because 10% of your metabolic energy comes from your nutrition. I don't know if you knew that, but that is also a very big deal. So that is important to me. That's why I also went out to get certified in nutrition,
Oh, wow.
because it was so important. And I found that in helping people relax and show up, they were still having some trouble. So it's like, okay, so maybe we should look at the diet, because we think about this as the only brain that we have. But the bulk of our immune system is in our gut. And so if that is so true, then nutrition is really important. Have
Mm.
you ever found that you saw something and you couldn't eat anymore because of it?
Yes. Yes.
Your stomach
Yes.
turned,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that is very significant to take into consideration. And then there's another brain that we don't consider a brain, but it's really your heart. It
Mm.
is really your heart. I used to think we have two brains, but I think we have three: the gut, the heart, and the mind. So those things drive us, and your breath regulates each one. One of my
Mm.
clients is the head of sleep at Vanderbilt, and she was testing my program without my knowledge, which I don't have any exception to.
Yeah.
But what we found was that her blood pressure lowered when she would take my program. And she found that when her blood pressure lowered, that she felt better. So she comes regularly to me to help her show up, to be in charge of sleep at this hospital and to get through life. And so I am ready now to share it more with the world. I have done it more privately because I am a lawyer by training. And so we are trained to be perfect in what you do. Now,
Right.
there is no such thing as perfection. I want the audience to know I'm aware of that. The only thing that is perfect is our intention, right?
I
But
love
I went and
that.
I tested it. I tested it everywhere. I tested it on every continent, and I'm in the
Mhm.
process of testing it on Antarctica to make all of them, having been tested. And I've tested it from as young as 3
Mhm.
to as old as like 86. And the program has worked.
Wow. The program of breathing better,
Gosh.
healthier,
Yeah, friends are
and the
counting.
nutrition part. Because I love what you said about that the heart, the mind, and the gut are our three brains.
Hmm.
And it's
Hmm.
interesting because there's a direct, the polyvagal nerve,
Hmm.
winding nerve, right? It's the oldest nerve in the body, goes straight from the brain to the gut. And we'll say,
Hmm.
there's a saying that anything below the diaphragm is a death response. So
Hmm.
when people have gut issues, they go, wow, you really are shut down. And if you have
Hmm.
a heart issue, right, emotionally, there's another nerve that goes from here to the lungs to the heart. It connects and it speeds you
Hmm.
up. So it's like a
Hmm.
life issue, like your life's attacking you, right?
Hmm.
So it's
Exactly.
beautiful how the breath connects all three of those things.
Hmm. It
Yeah,
does. It does. One thing I really want to say, and you haven't asked me, but it's just so important to
yeah,
me. People think that like breathwork has become a trend, right?
right.
But the reality is that you need to be careful how you breathe. When people are telling you to breathe to the point you feel hyperventilation, don't do it. Don't listen to them. If you're extremely stressed out and you're trying to Relax yourself. Taking a deep breath is not going to resolve it.
Yeah.
Taking a cleansing breath will give you a better and more sustainable and healthier resolve, because a deep breath can actually kill you in those
Well,
circumstances. You know,
tell us more
it
about
can.
that because for many of us, right? People say you're upset,
Mhm,
take a deep breath, right? Or we do
mhm.
some sort of form of that. What does that
Mhm.
mean? It could kill you. And what's the difference between
It
that
can
and a
cause
clean?
you to have a heart attack or a stroke. Can cause you to
Yeah.
have a heart attack or a stroke.
Mm,
Um, that's the reality of it. I don't want to frighten people though. So if you want me to demonstrate a cleansing breath that is more effective if
yeah.
you're stressed out, I am more than willing to do that, if it would be helpful
Yes,
to your
please do.
listeners. Okay, so
Yes.
let me just do one thing because I have this renegade phone, which is trying to
Yeah.
interrupt our process here, and I don't know why. I've turned it off and it keeps coming back on. So
Okay.
I think it got a virus of some sort. Okay, now I will win. We will win with the
Okay. Yes,
phone.
we will. We're just waiting patiently. I'm just
Okay.
excited about the topic because breath
Okay.
is something that we take for granted.
Mhm.
And we don't
And-
think about what a cleansing breath is. We're thinking, I'm just breathing.
Right,
The
exactly.
difference
So
between, go ahead.
you you talked about the diaphragm first, right? And you
Mm,
said how the diaphragm is so important. So some people are like, well, where is my diaphragm? So right above your navel is where your diaphragm is, and under
mhm,
your rib cage. Okay. To me, that is where the source of life truly is.
mm,
And so what I would encourage you to do, for one thing, is to lower the depth of your inhale, that it comes down into that diaphragmatic space.
yeah.
So when you inhale, make it slow, like you're going to smell the flowers.
Hmm.
When you smell flowers, you're not like, I mean, you're not doing that when you're smelling flowers, right? You take it in, you savor it, right? And then exhaling, perhaps that sigh of relief.
Yeah.
So inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your nose is more beneficial to you.
Mm,
Now, a technique that I crafted, which I would like to share with your audience and is very cleansing and helpful to my clients, is to slowly inhale twice through your nose, like you're smelling the flowers, have gratitude, and then slowly exhale through your nose to the count of 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhaling again twice through your nose, and slowly exhaling through your nose for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. One more time. Inhaling twice through your nose and slowly exhaling again to the count of 4, 3, 2, and 1. How do you feel?
relax.
And it's quick. The
Yeah.
brain loves breath work. The brain loves breath work. If someone felt dizzy doing that, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. If you feel any dryness in your throat, hydrate. Don't be alarmed. What that means is that the body is healing. If you feel any type of disorientation, don't breathe as deeply.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things when I see clients, they'll breathe, and they'll say, no, breathe through your nose because it's a
Mhm,
cleanser, healthier kind of breathing.
mhm.
Can you talk about that? Because I've
Yes,
experienced it. A lot of
I
us
love
breathe through our mouth. We'll be like, and not
right.
realizing it's better for the
Yeah,
body. Can you talk
it
about that?
is. And during the pandemic, there, and I mean, we're still technically in it
Yeah,
because COVID still exists, but
yeah.
at the height of the pandemic, when everybody was wearing masks, we became mouth breathers.
Hmm.
We stopped breathing through our nose. So when you breathe through your mouth, you disorient your mouth and your body. And what ends up happening is that your teeth will shift. You might have dental issues. You might have stress, insomnia, anxiety, any number of those things, which might have explained why some people were so violently opposed to masking because of the sensations that they felt and the discomfort that they felt. So, breathing through your mouth is not filtering the air, you're taking toxins straight through from the air into your mouth, into your body. When you breathe through your nose, the hairs in your nose the air, filter the air that you're taking in.
Yeah.
So it's protected for you to breathe through your nose.
Yeah.
And it is more orienting for the body to breathe through the nose um, when you inhale and exhale. Now, when you're running and things like that, you are going to breathe through your mouth, but as a state of being, consciously breathe through your nose. And if it's hard for you to do a task while you're doing it. There are lots of things like there's a 5-finger meditation, right? So if you just want to take 5 to 10 minutes a day breathing through your nose, taking your hands together and just massaging them. This is my version of the 5 fingers. People say count, but just massaging them, putting love into them.
Love that. Reminds me when I get my nails done. This is the best part. They did a massage on your hands.
Hmm. But you see, it's easier to do it while you're doing a task,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you distract yourself. Or you might want to do an art activity. Sometimes I teach breath work with art experiences so that not only are you breathing, but you're also shifting your brain a little bit more, opening up more capacity for yourself to show up for and enjoy life.
I love that. I love that. And I love how you add touch to it, or
Hmm.
you add something that could be like, because art is like a meditation.
It is.
It takes your mind off of whatever it is that you're thinking about.
Hmm.
Whatever hot thought allows you to drop it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's true. Art is a meditation. And technically, life is a meditation. If you think about it, if you are living purposefully, if you are in control of your breath so
Yeah.
that you own your power, life becomes meditative and reflective. And some people think that meditation is just sitting still. For somebody who has trauma, that can be a nightmare. If you
Yeah.
have stress and anxiety, so that's why I incorporate different things for people. So I encourage people who want to sit in silence, do some comforting techniques for yourself.
I love
Journal while you're doing it. Have a mantra, an affirmation, do a mudra. And for those who might not know what a mudra is, that is the touch sensation. When you touch your body, in different places, you feel different things, right? Touch yourself on your head, touch yourself here in your ears, side of your face. And even in here, there's a sensory point.
Mhm.
You have different sensations.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to bring your hands together and do different things. Like you can massage yourself, like
Mhm. Very calm.
inhale
Hmm.
and exhale. Did you feel it?
I felt. Oh, did I? Yes. It was
Yeah, exactly.
beautiful.
And I just felt like this gush of warmth come over
Yeah.
me. I was just like, okay, because that's the body loves that.
Yeah.
The body loves that. You know, a lot of people crave that connection with others, but the most important connection is the one you have with yourself, and your breath allows you to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Breath is life, right?
It is.
It
It
is.
is. And it is your friend.
It is.
Now, a couple things that I did want to say is when you're doing breath work, make sure that if something comes up for you that's uncomfortable,
Hmm.
process it. And a way to safely process it is to say, I see you, but I see me too.
Oh, I love that.
So I am not going to be stuck in that place, but I honor that feeling. And that's not the feeling that I want to stay in.
Mm.
And your body has a way to process it. Because sometimes people say, just disregard it, just
Yeah.
observe your thoughts. But I think you need to speak to it. It's like that child you see in the store who's crying for their mother, mommy, mommy, mommy. And the mommy is ignoring the child. And you are like, oh my gosh, could you please just
Yeah.
answer this child? Right? That you, even if you're like me, will answer the child and say, what's wrong, honey? Your mommy seems to
Yeah.
be really busy. And then they stop crying. They just wanted someone to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, your body is the same thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I do something called internally family systems.
Hmm.
And what it is parts work. And
Hmm.
we'll say, acknowledge that part. Which part? The anxious part is here. Let that
Hmm.
anxious part know that you see it
Mhm.
and make it let it know that it makes sense. It's anxious,
Mhm.
right? And that
It
you got
does.
yeah,
It
it,
does.
yeah, it does. Because sometimes we're like, I don't want to acknowledge it. No, no, no. You can acknowledge it by acknowledging you have control over it. You can make a decision about it, right? Whether I'm taking that breath in through the nose that you talked about, give myself a hug, it helps
Mhm.
rebalance the system.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's true. One thing I would say about the hug too, yeah, I find it's more effective for my clients when I tell them to put love in their hand first.
Ah,
Removing, we
that.
touch a lot, right? So
Yeah.
putting that love in your hands. That love could be the love you have for yourself, maybe appreciation for a quality about yourself, or your love for somebody else or somebody that loves you.
Oh, I love that.
Putting
Putting
that in your hands and then giving yourself that hug. There are a couple techniques with compression and containment, which you know about. Put that love in your hands, doing that cross body action, inhaling as you're giving yourself like a bear hug, and then slowly releasing.
yeah.
And a downward motion is going to help a lot because that helps to reset the system as well. So that inhale again, that tight hug, and then slowly exhale, downward movement.
Mhm.
When we do those things, you reset, you connect your body parts, so to speak, and you bring it back together. A lot of people are like, oh, I feel lonely right now. Well, one of the things is to give yourself a hug. Science says you have the same benefit from giving yourself a hug
Yeah,
as you do from getting it from others.
absolutely. At least it releases oxytocin, which is
Hmm.
that feeling, that feel good feeling, right?
It
And for some
is.
people where you have trauma and touch wasn't healthy or safe, we'll say, give yourself a hug so that you don't feel trapped,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That might be
And
one arm, or it might be putting in a safe place, or it might be doing this
hmm.
so that it feels safe.
Hmm.
Because the body wants to be connected,
It does.
also wants safety.
It's true. And to have safety, sometimes you have to orient yourself.
Yes.
And so that might be looking like if you feel unsafe,
Oh, I love
looking
it.
around to say, oh, okay, that's my wall. My wall is fine. Let me check the bed. There's no boogeyman.
Yes.
It's good. And then having gratitude. I'm sitting on a chair. I have a roof over my head.
Yeah.
Those different things can help us feel more safe.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
love that.
one thing, you remember children when they would comfort themselves naturally, you didn't tell them to do it, they would rock themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I encourage people when they do the hug
Yeah.
to rock themselves. If you can't hug yourself, putting
Mhm.
your hands together and just rocking yourself is a way to reset and comfort yourself.
Love
And for
that.
those who get distracted
Mhm.
during breathwork or meditation, adding a little rock will help.
I like them. Close my eyes because it feels so good.
It does, right?
Oh, it
So,
does. And
yeah.
I do the same thing. Sometimes I'll say that, especially mothers who have living children, and I'll
Mhm,
say, hold your baby. And women who have babies and they're healthy, and
mhm,
the idea of holding a child doesn't cause pain, they go, wow. I was like, hold the baby. And it
mhm,
allows the body to soften. Because when you
mhm.
hold someone that you love, we have a body memory of what that
Exactly.
feels like.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Um, One thing that I find to be really important is sometimes people struggle with self love. And
Mm,
so I just want to be real with people, say that if the idea of giving yourself a hug is not because of trauma, but your perspective on yourself, baby steps. Baby steps. Celebrate things about yourself. Celebrate one thing. It might be, you know what? I got up this morning. Way to go. High five me. Oh, I was able to get to work on time. High five me. I put my lipstick on today. High five me. Those little gradual steps will cultivate a deeper appreciation for self And it will also relax you so that you're not breathing with so much tension.
Absolutely. And you
Mhm,
know what? Those steps are not baby steps. Because when the
mhm.
baby takes a step, we're like, oh my God, right? We go, oh my God, we can stop walking. The moment the baby lifts his head, we're like, oh my God, oh, it's crawling pretty soon. That whenever you do something, even if it looks small, it's big because it's change. And I love what you said about that value of self-loving. Loving on you is always a big thing, right? It's like when you're in kindergarten and someone brings you a flower or gives you a lollipop, we go, oh, that's a big thing because
It
it's
is
validating. You're here and I see you, and you're worthy of attention from
very true.
you and from
Very,
everyone said.
very
So,
true.
and that with the breath is about love.
Mhm,
So, breath is a gift we give ourselves in love.
mhm. It is.
Mm,
It is. It
mm,
is. There are lots of techniques to breathe,
yes.
lots of different techniques, but the most important of which is pacing your breathing. The science is there. I say science a lot because everything I do is science based. Um, the science says that if you get to 6 breaths a minute, that is ideal to lengthen your telomeres. What are telomeres? Telomeres are kind of like a gauge of how your life is working. You
Mhm.
can lengthen your lifespan as you lengthen your telomeres. The
Oh,
shorter your telomeres, the shorter the lifespan remaining. So the reason why I created this Breathe Well Collective and people can pop in for free is because I want people to breathe. I want to see people
yes.
breathe. I do. And I mean, strangers on the street, in the grocery store, seeing somebody having a moment, I pull them to the side. Hey, can I show you something real quick? And they're like,
Mhm.
okay, that changed something for me. So it's really important. It's really important. And it's the greatest wealth that you have. They say health is wealth. The breath breeds that wealth for you.
I love that. And it's funny because I'm going to put it on LinkedIn today about the biggest gift you can give yourself if you're at work and you're in a high stress job is breathing.
Mhm.
Because when you work in a high stress job where you don't have a lot of breaks, whether you're a teacher or an engineer or a nurse or whatever you might do in life, you don't get breaks. You're always in activation, always thinking, always doing. And by the end of the day, your muscles and necks are tight, your shoulders are tight, and you don't realize that you might not be breathing well, right?
Right.
Because you're always in go. Is that fight flight syndrome? You're in
Yes.
activation. They're sympathetic, and when you
Yes.
take that breath, it activates the parasympathetic system, which
Mhm.
is the rest and digest.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think for
Yes.
a lot of us, we don't know how to go to the breath, so we go to things that aren't healthy, right, to help relax, like drinking,
Yes.
gambling, or something in excess.
Smoking,
Yeah.
vaping. I was having a discussion with someone, and I feel very strongly about this. I think that society has decided to just put band-aids on everything
Mm.
and mask and numb everybody, and it's
Ooh, baby, preach
unnatural.
it. Baby, hold on, wait a minute. I gotta get my flag out. Preach it. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
It is unnatural to live in a numbed state. It is unnatural.
Ooh,
And so the reality of it is this: you must pace your breathing because when you are masking it, when you are numbing it, you're going to need more numbing agents and they're not going to love you back. Okay. And you're not building resilience, you are building dependence for yourself.
wait a minute.
Resilience is in harnessing the power of your breath. I cannot tell you how many people have said things to me like, you know, since I've been doing your programs, because I have other programs other than the Breathe Well Collective, I have subscription programs that people pay to come to.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I don't have a bad relationship with alcohol anymore. I realized why I was drinking. I was bored, and now I'm cultivating this love for myself. I don't need it. I had people say, I don't need my edibles anymore. And I was like, I didn't even know you were taking them. But the fact is that when you get in touch with your breath, when you build this resilience, you don't need those things anymore. And it is a lot cheaper to breathe
Mm-hmm.
than to be dependent on substances that are not loving you back.
Oh, I love that. Do you know how many people I've heard say, I smoke marijuana, it's natural? And I'll say, yeah, but you're going outside of yourself to put something inside of yourself, right? And I said, by the time you finish the marijuana, the joint, you could have breathed and brought yourself down, right? And I said, that creates a dependency on you having to get somebody to give you something from a dispensary or in your community, wherever you're at, or in your relationships to help you feel better. When you were born with
Mhm.
your medicine, your breath is your medicine,
Exactly.
right? And your body
Exactly.
responds well to it.
Mhm.
So I'm just,
Exactly. We are on the same page. I
yeah,
also, and this is controversial, but this is what I believe. So I'm
yeah,
an honest, straight shooter. I do not think people should be smoking marijuana. I think that when you smoke things and you bring it into your lungs, it is not good for you.
mm-hmm,
Um, if people are taking edibles and those things, I have a different opinion about that. But I do think that smoking is really bad for you, and it's also bad for those around you. But I am concerned if people have to smoke at 8 o'clock in the morning to get through their day. And I think the government should be concerned, not to say you can't smoke, but how can we help you so
mm-hmm,
that you're not dependent on something other than your own power, as you
yeah,
said,
yeah,
without judgment? How can we help? Because chances are you're not showing up the way you want to if you are disoriented
absolutely,
and
ab-
numbed.
absolutely. I just want to say some people have chronic pain, so
Hmm.
they're going through cancer treatment, so those people need it. But even they will not
Hmm.
abuse it because once you're abusing it, you're not present.
Hmm.
You're not
Yeah,
able
no,
to regulate
hmm,
and show up in
yeah,
reality. Yeah,
yeah. If you don't have di- digestion illness issues,
yeah,
I do think that eating it is better,
yeah,
or consuming it as a tea.
yeah.
Okay. I know a story which I know is very credible from like 50 years ago. I was told this happened 50 years ago, actually more than that, like 70 years ago, from the
Mm-hmm.
person who told me that his sister had asthma and his mother in the Caribbean boiled a tea made of marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
gave it to his sister, and it cured her asthma. So I think that's a more sustainable effect and
Yeah,
impact, but
mhm,
that's a different kind of thing. That's not
yeah,
trying to cope through life, right?
absolutely. And there's a difference.
Mhm.
Can
Yeah.
you
Uh,
tell me? Oh, go ahead. Because I
no, go
love
ahead.
this topic because we're really talking about self care and we're
Yes.
talking about doing it in a healthy way, not an abusive way. And I
Hmm.
love what you're saying about the power of breath, right? I know in our communities, they do breath work with inmates, children in schools. They're now extending it to communities. Can you talk more about why there's this initiative to bring breath work in and how those communities, children, adolescents, people who have inflammatory diseases, why they're now being included in this?
Because medicines are temporary and impact in many of the cases why people have these situations. It's a chronic condition, but it is the body not getting what it needs. 80% of the population does not breathe correctly. That is a fact. And so, if you are not a singer and you are not a swimmer, chances are, if you didn't reach out for breath work, you were never taught to breathe.
Nope. Nope.
And so, as life happens, you hold your breath. I used to hold my breath. I used to be a big breath holder.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of things happen because I experienced trauma at a very young age. And I had to learn to fight for my life when I was like 7 years old in an elevator. And so I developed this holding of my breath. And when I would hold my breath, like sometimes it would register. Like I had a doctor's appointment and they had me hooked up to a monitor, and everybody looked at me because the machines were going off. And they're like, but you're alive. And I was like, yeah. They're like, the machine's saying you're dead. And I was
Wow.
like, I had held my breath
Yeah.
that long.
Yeah.
But I learned that I couldn't do that. And
Yeah.
so it was transforming things. I'm also certified as a mental health first aid responder. And so I learned how to transform those things that were causing me to hold my breath. I
I love
said before
that.
6 breaths a minute,
Yeah.
but they realized in schools, in hospitals, in prisons, that that breath
Yeah.
releases and put people back into a
Absolutely.
state of calm. If you're
Absolutely.
not calm, you can't learn.
No.
If you're not calm, you're not going to be the ideal person that's going to be released and not be a recidivist.
Oh
If
no.
you're not
Preach
calm,
it.
not going to be that patient that recovers.
Yep.
It is more beneficial. And
Yeah.
in the community right now, like I am a strong advocate for going out in the communities because people are really mad right now.
Yeah.
People
Oh
are
yeah.
mad. I don't know if you see it on the highways and you're driving.
Hmm.
It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Why are
Yeah.
you so
Yeah.
upset? You know, they're blowing their horns and you're like, what are you blowing your horn for? But they just need to express themselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
having been bottled and censored, they lost the power of their
Yeah.
breath.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
And for some
taking it.
communities who've been marginalized historically,
Mhm, mhm,
they're always feeling activated because they all don't always feel safe.
mhm,
So the first lesson about fighting and survival. And
mhm,
if that's all your first lesson about how to fight and how to survive, because it's not, you don't feel safe to live, because that
mhm.
message is about value and about safety and about worth, then you learn to hold your breath. You do shallow breathing, right? It
Yes.
does something to us genetically. It changes the way the DNA expresses itself, right?
Mhm,
Ideologically. So one of the things that I love about what's happening now is, thinking about the George Floyd thing and all the signs saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe is not just about being choked out. It's about historically not feeling safe to take a breath, feeling
mhm,
so activated and attacked that when when danger's approaching, we, right, the body reserves the energy. It reserves, gets the body ready for something explosive to happen or dangerous to happen.
mhm,
Because if you're relaxed, you can hear my breath.
mhm,
And for a lot of people, being heard is not always safe. Being seen
mhm,
is not safe. So
mhm.
this work you're doing is so important
Thank
because
you.
children who are activated look like they have ADHD.
Mhm.
But what it
Can we
is,
talk about ADHD,
oh,
please?
oh, no, we don't go there. Yes, we are. That kids who have been activated because of the environment or because they don't feel seen or heard or validated, right? They're holding their breath. They're moving a lot and the brain's not getting a lot of oxygen. But research has shown that if you teach them how to breathe, how to sit with their breath, then they can do emotional regulation so much better. Same thing
Mhm.
in prisons. You got to look at, watch your back. But if you teach a prisoner how to just manage being present and manage their breath, ooh, they're powerful. They're
It's true, but I want to say this. There is this trend to say everybody has ADHD now.
yeah,
So you see all these parents now, like Busy Phillips just said it, and I'm not negating the fact that she could have ADHD, but could you present with symptoms of ADHD if you are so overwhelmed that you cannot think? I have a rescue dog. You might hear her playing with her bone in another room through a locked door. Um,
yeah,
there is this idea that, okay, your forgetfulness, those different things, okay, I have ADHD. No, not necessarily. It is that you need to
yeah,
harness the power
yeah,
of your breath,
yeah,
slow it down, bring yourself into an intentional place. Everybody thinks, we had the hustle culture, right? You had to hustle, you had to grind.
yes,
But that is even against natural laws. We have laws in economics, right? I studied international business in college,
mhm,
and I learned something called the law of diminishing returns. What does that say? That says we need to play as adults when you apply it to life outside of a business spectrum. It's saying that if you keep grinding, you're going to become less effective. You're going to become less efficient. Not only are you going to enjoy what you're grinding for less because it's like, okay,
mhm,
okay, I'm so tired.
Yep.
Okay, what is the next thing? You can't even catch your breath, right?
Nope.
And then you see these misdiagnoses that are happening to people. I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many people come to me and they say, like, this breathing thing has helped me to become more effective in life. I am happier in life. I'm not so stressed out. And that to me means everything. I literally tear up often when I hear this because that's my why. That's my why. I want to see a happier society. Some of it a little selfishly, because I feel like if you're happier, then the people around you will be happier. And the people around you are happier. They're going to make the people around them happier. And then we're going to have a better society. And I'll be
Absolutely.
happier because people will be less
Yeah.
stressed.
Yes.
It is
And
not natural. And one thing you talk about, you said the survival mode,
yep.
and that is the flight or fright thing that people are in.
Reactive mode. Hmm.
Right. We had that song, I'm a survivor, I don't
Yeah.
give up, right? And Gloria Gaynor, I will survive, right? We don't want to survive. We want to thrive. And that is what you have in the parasympathetic state. You are thriving in life.
Yes.
You are that, if you want to go to that biblical sense, that bend don't break. That
Hmm.
is that being still and knowing that God is God. That is that knowing that no, I don't know why I'm so biblical, but I will say it. No weapon formed against you is going to prosper. You can stand still
Yeah.
and not be moved by everything that's happening around you. That doesn't mean you ignore it. I don't believe in that fake positive toxicity where you say,
Yeah.
God's got it. You need to acknowledge what you're feeling and then move on. That's the
Absolutely.
reality.
Absolutely.
Name and claim your well being.
I
Name
love
and
that.
claim the power of your breath.
I love that.
That
I love
is
that.
going to help you in your relationship. I've had mother and daughter come to me for sessions to breathe together. I couldn't believe it. It was a 13-year-old and her mom, and they were having some tension. And the mom and daughter, after like a week, they're like, our relationship is better. And the daughter was like, yeah, she's not so grumpy. And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they had that transformation.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate the power of the breath. And it is simple and most times inexpensive and available to you for free.
Absolutely.
Slowing down. But again, don't go for the phases. Don't short circuit your breath. Slow it down.
I
Slow it down.
love that. You
Thank
know, when you slow down your breath, you allow stillness to come in. And for a lot of us, we're reactive, right? But it keeps you activated and it
you.
keeps the
Mhm,
adrenaline pumping and makes
mhm,
your heart beat fast. And then your lungs constrict, and the lungs under the nerves in the lungs, the polyvagal nerves, keep it tight. But the moment you take that breath through that nasal, it relaxes the lungs. And
mhm,
the heart can get ear then, and the brain can get ear. And the looping of activation stops. And what
mhm,
I love is that, like when I do restorative yoga on
mhm,
Sundays at 6
mhm,
p.m. I love trauma and healing. Get your tickets.
mhm,
The first thing we do is we do breath work on
mhm,
purpose. And for some people, that's the only time where they've slowed down and been still and did breathing. And
mhm,
the second thing we do, they go back to rest.
mhm,
And for some people who say, I just took a minute to just breathe, they were still. And that gives your nervous system time to not be so reactive, but to be proactive. Doing something that's good for you, that's healthy for you, that benefits just you. Because if it benefits just you, then it's going to benefit other people, like with the mom. If you slow her down, you slow the child down. And you go back to that co regulation between mother and child in the womb. It's that give and take, beautiful experience.
mhm.
Yes. Since we can talk all day long, and how they can experience you, how they can be part of your workshops, your classes. What is your website address, and how can they reach you?
So the website is Arlie Speaks Media. Actually, it's arliespeaks.com is the website. But don't go to my website because Johns Hopkins had suggested, one of their professors, I should say, not the university in proper form, suggested that I patent some of these things that I've created. So I had to pull things off of the internet.
Okay.
So go to my Instagram account, Cleanse Your Cash. Cleanse Your Cash, with cash being spelled Cache. Cleanse Your Cash. Best way to reach me. Um, when you go to cleanse your cash, just DM me. You can follow me. I said that I'm opening up my programs to people more so now. And so I have a little delay in my launch because I had an injury,
Mhm.
but I am launching to the public in June so that people will be able to pop in and experience these things. Right now, it's really by invitation and people that come to me and ask for help as opposed to me saying come to the general public. It's important to me to do this work. I've made room for the Zoom room. If you come in for the Breathe Well Collective at 8 noon, oh, sorry, at 8 a.m. or at 12 noon, it's only 15 minutes of your time, which will actually lengthen your life Monday through Friday. And you don't have to be on camera, you don't have to speak. Just breathe and have that relaxation experience. For nutrition work, I have different programs and master classes as well that are being released from everything as bizarre as, and people don't know this, but pelvic floor issues like incontinence, erectile dysfunction
Mhm.
related to your breath.
I didn't know that.
Not a question mark. It is definitive, related to your breath. Constipation, related to your breath. A lot of those things, this back pain that you have, related to your breath. I can't tell you how many people come to my sessions. And there was a skeptic guy who came from Minnesota, and he was invited in by this doctor that comes. And at the end, he waited till everybody left and he said, I want to tell you something. I was like, what? He goes, I had my malaria shot the day before and I was in extreme pain. He goes, but after this, and it was a 30-minute class he came to.
Mhm.
He was like, I don't have any pain. It happens often that the pain goes away and the body starts to cultivate that response. Like I got hit by a tractor trailer on April 15th, and it hit 3 times. And I was in some serious pain, as you would imagine, to be hit 3 times. But I functioned at a higher state because of this breath work that I do. So I
Mhm.
was able to navigate and not have to take the Flexerol and the Tylenol and just take like valerian root and magnesium and do the breath work so that I could still show up and do what I needed to do. So there are some things that I mean, obviously, I can't. I'm in a Pilates program because I'm going to start teaching people Pilates.
I love it.
So I took a break from that, but I do believe in the power of movement and with the breath. And so that's something that I'll be offering to people as well, to get them to a place of being themselves.
I love it. So it's mind, movement, and nutrition. Three healing places.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
for being part of this show.
Oh,
I
you're
told
welcome.
you guys she was dope. Amazing. Please follow her on Instagram. It will change your life. You will not be disappointed. I went to one of her classes and I loved it.
Oh,
So
thank
thank you for spending time with us. I'm
My pleasure.
Candice Richardson, Dope Black Therapist. Join us for next week for part 3, where we have the community healers, the stylists, the beauticians, the body workers. Um, so if you like us on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're looking for a clinician, I'm at CandiceRDickens.com. And if you want to do restorative yoga to help in that good parasympathetic, doing some good breath work, follow me or check out my website at coloroftraumaandhealing.com. Good night, everyone. Thank you
Good
again.
night.